Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning. It's Monday, and we think we have a very good bill that's coming on the House floor today with the special session. I will tell you, legislators have been working really, really hard ever since the governor decided that we needed that second shutdown, which has been and is proving out to be a real challenging thing for many of our restaurants and gyms and theaters that we just didn't kind of see coming earlier on this year. So again, 3 weeks ago, the governor decided we needed to do this for safety concerns. The one thing that I think is the tone that you'll hear today, I think, is just the manner in how he shuts us down and reopens us has to be done in a methodical and well-planned out manner. Today's bill, something that I'm very, very proud to be one of the chief authors of, provides $216 million of relief to all over Minnesota with every touch of every county. It provides 3 different buckets for folks that are 30% down in their sales for restaurants, bowling alleys. And these are important dollars that are going to come out very quickly from the Department of Revenue. We also have a $14 million grant program under the deed component, which is really going to focus on helping theaters and our local conference centers of 1,500 capacity or more. Those have been sitting basically idle for the most of the summer and the fall. We need to get some relief to those folks right away. And our final bucket is the county bucket, or we're calling it the local eyes on the road kind of a thing. So we can make sure that anything that gets missed, our local connections with our businesses that need more help, they are getting $112 million, again, all over the state of Minnesota, so they can react quickly and as they see their local needs are best fit. They have done a very good job through the local CARES granting this summer and fall. That was sort of the impetus of having them get involved with this project. From day one, we've included our counties in this discussion. We want to keep their language very broad so that they can do some good things on the local level. So we're going to pass a bill today. It's also going to include unemployment insurance, which is another very important component that we had to work through over the weekend, and we finalized the details of this last night. One of the things I wanted to share was the frustration that we were put under as legislators this last 3 weeks when we didn't have to go through this intense, never pick your head up over the last 2 weeks of looking to see what are we doing and how come we're doing it like this now. Planning is really important in business. And if we don't have the ability to plan properly and to scope out the what ifs and who's going to get what, we're put under enormous pressure to get a bill out very, very quickly. As really good as this bill is, what should have happened is the governor should have reached out to a number of us 2-3 weeks before he was going to shut this down to say, if this happened, we have to have a plan. So restaurants, bars, bowling alleys, theaters know what's coming. So when you do have that announcement, we can have something ready to present to them. And then again, the more of the insult to injury is when the governor keeps delaying the decision to reopen is just maddening, because we have been telling the governor, commissioners, that we have to have at least 7 days notice minimum to reopen a restaurant properly. We have to let our employees know, our suppliers have to be informed so we can get groceries. We have to tell our customers that we're going to be reopening. But to do it in a matter of 48 hours, and if that's what the governor is thinking of doing this week, it's not enough time to do it properly. Some businesses may be able to do this if you're maybe a gym, maybe a theater, if you happen to have the right movie on hand, but you cannot do that properly with a restaurant. Today needs to be about trust. We need to be able to start talking about trusting our business owners that want to help, want to be a part of the solution. But when you keep leaving us in the dark, it becomes incredibly frustrating, incredibly maddening. And then you get some folks that possibly would lash out. And that's not what we want to see. That's not what we're advocating here at all. But I understand when some people have to say, I can't take it anymore. And so we are lucky to have legislators work nonstop for the past 2.5 weeks on a bill that I think is very, very good. But it didn't have to be this way. So I'd like to introduce a friend of mine. Donovan runs the O'Neill's restaurant and bar up in Spicer, Minnesota. Very busy operation in the summer. They go down a little bit in the fall and the winter, as it's a very seasonal business. And Donovan has shared with me many comments about how can I make decisions like this, Dave, when I don't know what's going on. So with that, I'll flip it over to Donovan from O'Neill's. If you're on the call, go ahead, Donovan.
Good morning, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Donovan. Go ahead. You can go ahead and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, thanks for this opportunity to speak with you guys this morning, and thanks for the bill that you guys have all worked so hard on. Like you just briefly mentioned in your comments, you know, it just would have been nice if we would all had a little heads up on this going into this, you know, shutdown. I mean, if the government side of things would have planned ahead a little bit, and we wouldn't. I mean, it gets tight out here when all the, you know, you got your staff and your inventory and the different things that you that it takes to shut down a restaurant of this capacity. And, you know, obviously then to try to scramble to get finances worked out with the bank and different things. I mean, you know, it just the communication of this whole thing is just seems, you know, to be so absent this time, I guess is the word maybe that I'm looking for. You know, from the governor's office and communicating with you guys as representatives, I mean, and then you guys communicating with us as the operators. It's very frustrating when we don't know what our future looks like. And I think that's what the hospitality industry is going through right now. And, you know, that's why there is kind of this, you know, group of people that are like feel their backs against the wall and they're going to push to open, you know, against the governor's orders. And I really see that being, you know, way more, you know, havoc and catastrophe than you know, if we just have communication and know what we're looking for our future. I mean, you know, if they mean 2 weeks, if they mean 30 days, you know, that's something that has to come out of Governor Walz's office. And so you guys can explain to us, you know, what's going on with the numbers and the information that we're faced with. I mean, just so everybody's on the same page, like you said, so we can plan these startups and shutdowns and things accordingly. I mean, going off of just inventory and our people, I mean, our staff alone, I mean, it just, you know, a lot of those households are living, you know, week to week, month to month. And for them, by the time they sign up for unemployment, I mean, they skip a week. I mean, granted, the money comes back a week later, but, you know, a lot of these people are really stressed and you know, their budgets and their family households just can't function that way. So, you know, those are some of the big concerns that I see as far as how this whole thing is being transitioned as far as the time of, you know, we can't, like you said, we can't open a store of this capacity back up in 2 days. We can't get the staff in place. We can't get the inventories in place. You know, that's just the frustrating side that all of us operators are faced with. And, you know, obviously we try to do our best, but it would just be nice if there was more of an open link of communication.
Thanks, Donovan. I really appreciate your comments, and folks on the media may ask you a few questions afterwards as well. I do want to also flip it over to one of my colleagues that has been helping me tremendously through this process. Representative Barb Haley has worked just very hard on the whole package, but also has been really focused on gyms and other things that possibly can get some relief soon. So Representative Haley, welcome.
Thank you, Representative Baker, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. It's going to be a good day in the House as we get this relief out to our restaurants and to our workers. The other piece that we've been working really diligently on since we announced this business relief package is getting our gyms and fitness centers reopened. And again, it's been 3 weeks since the governor closed them down. And the data that we reviewed really doesn't support the need for the closure. You saw the letter that we sent to the governor last week outlining our case. And we're asking the governor again today, we're urging him to have a plan for their reopening. The business relief package is a great bill, and it wouldn't have happened without Representative Baker's dedication these past 2.5 weeks. But fundamentally, the better option is just that these businesses reopen. And we think gyms and fitness centers can be one of those first steps. You know, these facilities have really gone above and beyond even the initial requirements since we've been dealing with COVID. They have increased safety measures, masking and social distancing and making appointments for classes, and they've been operating at reduced capacity. I've talked to many owners and operators and also to patrons, and the patrons are very grateful for those safety measures. They just want to get back to a routine that they believe helps them maintain their health. And that really is our fundamental goal here, because we believe that the gyms and the fitness centers are really part of the solution to helping us all manage COVID, and they're not part of the problem. So thank you for the time to talk about that a little bit as well. And I think now we'll open it up for questions.
All right, we'll start with Bill Warner.
I am unmuted, Andrew. Yeah.
We hear you,
Go ahead,
Bill.
Bill.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Very good. I just want to get some details on the package here, if we can. Is it 216 plus 112 for the county bucket portion of it for, I guess, what, 328? And also, would you go into a little bit more detail, Representative, about what the UI piece is, please? I would appreciate that.
You bet. Thanks, Bill. And no, let's be clear about the 216 is a total package dollar amount. About 90 million is going to the counties. I'm sorry, the 90 million is going to the Department of Revenue to hit those businesses that have been shown to be down 30% or more in that restaurant, bar, bowling alley sector that we've identified as the most critically hit. Also, part of that is based on their number of employees. So 0 to 20 employees gets a check for X. And so on. That's in the bill today. If you want to see that, kind of, and again, it ranges anywhere from 10,000 to a real small business who doesn't pay more than 10,000 to the state for sales tax sales, and also up to $45,000 would be the most one operator would get. Again, part of the business packages for the theaters, we have a per screen allocation. If you have 1 or 2 screens for your theaters in your towns, you'll get $15,000 per screen for the first 2 screens. So 2 screens will total $30,000. After that, it's $10,000 a screen, maximum of $150,000 per complex. We've done some things for convention centers. Again, over 1,500 capacity would receive money based on their size and location. We are giving that sort of that flexibility to the commissioner and to Deed to kind of work that out. But he's got $5 million there to work with on that. The county bucket is the biggest of 112 million, I believe, 114 million to the county, excuse me. And with that, they're going to sort of make sure that the folks that missed that 30% cut, but are still closed today, and maybe they're down 15, 20% because they worked really hard over the summer to try to get to that caught up level. They deserve and should get just as much money as the folks that have hit that 30 or less, or 30% or down or more for those businesses. If you're closed right now, you've got to have at least 15, 20, 25,000 to be able to pay your next mortgage payment, your light bill, and honestly, to get you money for groceries to put back in your cooler so you have money to reopen. A lot of folks that I've talked to said those numbers are reasonable. They're certainly not enough, and it's not going to give them any kind of looking out more than 30 days to be able to sustain with just that amount of money. We are hoping federal relief is coming as well, but we're really counting on our county partners to get this money deployed as quickly as they can with a lot of the information that they already have on hand from the past CARES granting that they just did this summer and this fall. Go over to the unemployment insurance bill that you had mentioned. I think that there again, we're looking at a pretty solid 13 plus weeks. I think it starts at December 27th is when it starts. And I believe it ends in about the middle of April. I don't have the date right in front of me, but it's 13 weeks. And we're hoping our federal partners will step in and work with us on this, because that will reduce the cost to the state of Minnesota. Our unemployment insurance trust fund is already underground with about $790 million in the shortfall. But it's something that we know is important to our workers, and we have to give them that support. So with those two components, we're taking care of the workers and we're taking care of our businesses as fast as we possibly can.
And is it correct, Representative, it's not stacked with the federal benefits? So if the feds kick in, then this drops off, the state drops off?
That is correct. It still drops off in sometime in April. Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it.
All right, next we'll go to Mary Lahammer.
Hello, Representative Baker. I want to follow up on a couple of things you said earlier about the number of businesses that are really struggling and could possibly close. And you said, you know, folks are so frustrated that they might want to lash out. Can you talk about the anger and angst that are out there?
Well, again, I think as Donovan has mentioned, Mary, they don't know what to do. They don't feel any kind of communication coming from the executive branch because the announcement was supposed to come out Friday and then it was going to come out Monday, right? And so that is about the minimum amount of time that a business like Donovan's can plan to reopen. When it was delayed again, I was almost so distraught and so upset that I thought all the conversations we've had should have allowed him to say, hey, if I don't have the information today to make that decision to reopen, I should wait a week. Just say it. Just come out with it and say, I can't make that decision. So restaurants, you're delayed by X. I'm not trying to tell him when he has all the facts to open or not. I don't have that information in front of me, for example, but our business owners are reacting to a way that there's some undertones out there, Mary, that are saying that there's a number of them that are going to open this week. I don't know who they are. I've not endorsed any of that. I've not pushed it, but I get their frustration. And if they decide to make decisions based on what they think is essential for their livelihoods and their employees, I can't fault them for making these decisions because they don't have a good relationship with the governor's office. They don't feel trusted. They don't feel respected because these decisions keep getting delayed. And I think they just feel like, I'm just not going to sit back any longer. I just can't do that. So that is, I think, where the tone was coming with Mary, with my hearing that frustration.
And can I follow up? Do you think that state authorities should allow businesses to open even if the governor extends this? And, you know, it will still be on this week. What's your reaction if businesses do open in violation of this order?
Well, that's a really tough answer. I mean, a lot of restaurants are following the rules. I get that. They're going to have to hunker down. Donovan, I think, has told me privately, Dave, I'm not going to reopen during this thing. That's not something that I want to do. I don't want to put anybody at risk. But if those operators are making decisions on what they know best, I don't like to see the Attorney General showing up with black Suburbans and trying to make these people feel like they're killing people. They're really not. They're just trying to survive. And so it's a really difficult question to answer because I don't want people to break the law. But the governor can make a lot of things better by better communicating, giving us what an outlook looks like. But we should have had this plan put together 3 weeks before the announcement came out, so we had something to roll out right away to these businesses. So they had a check in their hands already today. I think that would have taken a lot of pressure off, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, up next, Peter Callahan.
Hi, I follow up a little bit on Mary's question. You said last week in the bill that a business would have to be in good standing with the Department of Revenue. Would they also have to be in good standing with liquor licensing authorities? In other words, can a business that reopens in violation of the order also get a check from the taxpayers of the state?
That's a great question, Peter. And this came up on our call last night with the leaders that put together this bill. Some folks thought that was an important component. However, even I'll use the words of Commissioner Grove out of Deed. We just can't move that quickly and put that component into this mix and get this money out as fast as we can. So it was talked about briefly. It was not really considered very strongly after hearing from the commissioner. Certainly, I was not going to support something like that. I think that's a separate issue. If you're in good standing as of November 1st with the Department of Revenue, and whether you're opened right now with curbside or whether you decided to pause your business, you should be able to get that relief because you wouldn't be here in this position to feel like you're at a no-win situation and want to reopen if the governor had been more open about how we are going to transition this more clearly up front. So that is not part of the conversation. A business will not be penalized if they decide to do something. At this point, this is not going to be part of our discussion or our bill today.
Thanks.
All right, up next, Theo Keith.
Hey, Representative, just want to clarify this because last Thursday when you did a news conference with Senator Pratt, the numbers were $100 million for businesses through revenue, $14 million for the theaters and the convention centers, and $102.5 million for the counties. So that's that's changed? There's been 10 million moved out of the revenue bucket and put into the county bucket?
Good math, Theo. Way to pay attention. I see you're listening. What that is from, and that's a good question. What the Department of Revenue recognized was the businesses that were not open at least a year were put into that 30% reduction or more bucket. The Department of Revenue was going to initially give them that credit to be part of that if they don't have the historical numbers to look back on. After they noodled that around a little bit, they decided to, we better not do that. We better let the counties determine that because some of these businesses may be stronger and doing better than we realize. So they said, look, this is about 10 or $12 million. Let's take it out of our bucket and put it into the county bucket. So that's where that conversation came from. And that was agreed to and finalized yesterday in the afternoon call. So that's the reason for that switch, Theo.
Okay, got it. And then as far as the timing, is it your understanding from the majority that the business relief and the unemployment extension would be packaged together, and would it pass today and that would be the end of things, or are there still more negotiations going on?
There's still more smaller bills that'll probably come up today. I don't exactly know what the overall plan is. What I will tell you, as I understand it, today's business relief bill will be including the UI relief package, unemployment insurance package, as well as the business grants. Those are two of the most important cognizant components of this bill. There may be some other things with childcare or homelessness has been discussed. But we don't know exactly what that looks like. There's going to be some amendments on the floor today. I'm sure the Senate's going to be working through the same thing. But our two main components today in this bill is unemployment insurance and the business grant relief.
Okay, thank you.
All right, up next, Esme Murphy.
Hi, Representative Baker. Just a couple of clarifications. I think you may have made them. First of all, is this a deal, this $216 million, is that something that's been agreed on? Is the unemployment insurance also agreed on? Are these deals or just your proposals? What about the $500 for low income individuals and the money to businesses? We're talking grants here. These aren't loans that have to be repaid.
That's exactly right, Esme. The $216 million is just the unemployment insurance package, which again starts at the end of December, and the grants that go back to the businesses. And these are true grants. These are not loans. And these are basically the least that we can do for them to have been kind of gone through the ringer as they have been again late in this year. So those are grants, and this is something that the MFIP payments, I think you're referring to, the $500 one-time payment, has not been agreed to. It is still being discussed as I understand it. It's not going to be part of this business relief. I don't think it really fits in that focus, but I believe that there is more discussion on that, and that will yet come out later today.
But the $216 million, you're saying that's a deal, that's already been agreed to by all parties?
Unemployment insurance and the business grants is a deal. You will see that pass today unless something way out of left field comes, but that has the four caucuses agreeing to this, and the governor's office have agreed to this package.
And how quickly will somebody be getting that money into their hands?
Well, and that's what we keep pushing. Our expectation, and maybe my expectation is, and I can't put this in writing, they're doing the best they can. The Department of Revenue had hoped that they would try to get checks out by the end of this month. As this keeps delaying, I think it could go a little further, but we're talking about a matter of a few weeks to get the first checks out. We think the Department of Economic Development with their theater support also could be in that same timeline. But the counties may take a little bit longer because they want to reach out to folks in their areas quickly. So we're hoping that the counties won't be more than 2 to 4 weeks after that initial payment. So in a perfect world, I will tell you that I would like to see everything done by the end of January or early February. I don't just deploy the dollars. I don't know what that looks like, but everyone knows the faster they move, the better our businesses will be, and we'll save more of them the faster we get it out. So legislatively, they have to have all the money out by the middle of March as a sort of a backstop, but we certainly hope it's going to be within a matter of weeks, not months.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Featherly, and then we'll wrap with Christiane's question and wrap at 10:30.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we've had two judges now weigh in on the executive orders, including this one we're talking about now. Judge Neeson in Wabasha County ruled against the business. His ruling said that Minnesotans would be threatened with real substantial irreparable harm if the courts were to unravel the executive order by giving it no legal effect. He said that death and infection rates will continue to climb and medical facilities may be overwhelmed unless these orders are adhered to. How confident are you? He relied on he ruled that the governor was within his rights to rely on the state epidemiologist's evidence. How confident are you of the evidence that you've cited that these businesses can open safely?
Again, that's a good question. I don't know about the legal side of things and how that all wrangles. We do know that the governor does have the power given to him by the legislature during a time of this pandemic that, again, in the middle of March, we had no idea what was happening. Again, I don't want to get into the should they open or shouldn't. I want my healthcare workers safe, and I don't want anyone thinking that because we are promoting and trying to stand up for businesses that we're trying to make anyone more sick or put our healthcare workers at more of a risk. The governor has that information in front of him. What we're basically saying today is if you think it's the right time to open and you want to make that decision, then do it, but we need more lead time. I am not advocating folks to go against the emergency orders. This is not what this is about. We want them to be open when they can and when they should be, and they can be done safely. But when you are in a position that they're in, I understand the fear and the panic that they have because they don't know what's happening next. So we just need to have good communication from the governor's office. And I hope that comes out earlier than Wednesday. I hope he hears this today where he can say, you know what, I do need to make this decision. Here is my decision. And we'll just have to live with that. So I hope that he hears us and opening up within a couple of days, if that's what he's thinking of doing with restaurants, this is something that we got to have today.
Rep. Haley, could you take that on? Because you said you cited data that suggests that these businesses could open safely.
Yes, I think you were referring to a gym in Wabasha County. And again, I did not look at the legal documents, so I can't speak to that. The data that I used in our letter to the governor was data that's publicly available, and it was from conversations we had with MDH. So it was their specific data that was tracking what they called outbreaks or cases traceable to gyms. And those figures give you a 0.002% chance of getting COVID at a YMCA or at a fitness center in Minnesota. So again, we were using their data. This isn't a separate analysis that we did. It was from data from MDH. And at the time that the governor closed the gyms, there was 0 outbreaks in November traced to gyms. So that's our request to the governor, is explain to us how this supports closing our fitness facilities. And as I've stated before, these are folks too that are going there for physical therapy, are going there for weight loss regimens, recovering from strokes and other surgeries, things that impact Minnesotans' ability to stay healthy and fight disease. So we think the data supports having them opened under the safety measures that they're currently following. We're not advocating a free-for-all here. They are following safety guidelines, and they would continue to do that.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Christiane Cordero. I apologize if I mispronounced that, and then we will wrap it up.
Nope, that was pretty good. Just a quick question. I would imagine this falls under the conversation of little details that are potentially still being worked through. But as I recall, part of the initial proposal from the GOP was to double liquor to-go sales. Is that still in the works? Is this part of something that is still on the table, or not so much?
Again, thanks for that question. We were not able to get some of those things, at least on the initial agreement, about allowing growlers, for example, to be sold in on-sale liquor establishments that might be open for takeout. Doubling the wine or the beer right now wasn't something that we felt we had the time to dive into, but that could come up on the House floor today as an amendment. I will tell you, though, that we did agree to, and I failed to mention this earlier, there will be some licensing relief components to this, in that the Met Council, all the fees will be waived for the breweries that are paying a wastewater license fee in the Met Council footprint. Those will be waived in 2021. Also, what will be waived is the 2 a.m. liquor license. Anyone who either purchased that or wants to purchase it going forward, again, 2021, that will not be charged in the coming year. Obviously, hardly anyone who did have it, and there's about 800 operators in the state of Minnesota that chose to do that. That was hardly ever used because of the shutdown of the large events and such. And then finally, we have a catering license fee that will be waived for any caterers, restaurants that do catering off property. It's a separate license you have to buy. The state of Minnesota has agreed that we will waive that as well. So those three components will be some licensure relief bill that'll be part of this bill here today.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. If you need a recording of the news conference, please email me. Dave, do you want to wrap this up?
Sure will. And again, if anybody wants to get Donovan's information to talk to him as a further up or a follow-up, please let us know. I'm sure he'd be happy to do that with you. Again, this is about, again, the folks that are really struggling, and they see, again, retail stores are packed right now for the holidays. There's a lot of commerce going on, and a lot of folks are just going nuts by sitting on the sideline, not being able to participate with that. And it's causing just a lot of heartburn and concern. So today's a good day for business relief. We're finally getting to it. We should be doing this earlier if we could in the future, but I'm committed, along with other representatives that are here on the call, to make sure that we get this done today and we get our workers and our businesses some help as fast as possible. So with that, thank you all very much for joining us today. And I look forward to a governor's signature on this very, very quickly.